Hi guys, welcome to this quick tutorial where I'll be taking you through how to set up Prometheus and Node Exporter to collect Linux metrics and then visualize them in Grafana. Before we get started, you only need to make sure you have Docker and Docker Compose installed. So once you have the latest version, or at least the recent version installed, you can proceed with this tutorial. And secondly, I've prepared this GitHub repo to contain some of the initial code. So here we have the Docker Compose file that contains that sets up two services. So we have the Prometheus service and also the Node Exporter service. And Node Exporter, by the way, is basically an agent that collects metrics from a Linux system and exposes it in a format that Prometheus can understand. So the first thing you need to do is actually clone the repo to your computer, and you can just clone it however you want. I already have the repo here, so we can just go right ahead and open the Docker Compose file. And like I said, we have two services. We have the Prometheus service, which is built using the Prometheus image, and we have a couple of volumes here. We have the Prometheus data volume, which is the named volume used to persist the metrics, so that when we restart the container, the metrics are not lost. And also we have the Prometheus configuration, which we are mounting to this part in the Prometheus container. And then we also have a couple of commands to configure the Prometheus service behavior. And finally, we have the ports, which we are mounting the default ports for the Prometheus user interface, which is port 1990. We're mounting the port 1990 within the container to port 1990 on the local host. And here with the second service, we have the Node Exporter service, which is built using the latest Prometheus image. And we also have a couple of volumes here. We are mounting some important system directories on the host to these paths within the container. We are mounting them as read-only so that no changes are made to these directories by the container. So we have the proc, the sys, and the root container, and this step is necessary so that the Node Exporter service has the necessary permissions to access the metrics about the host system. Okay, so now that we are all set up with this, we can now go right ahead and start the containers with Docker Compose up, and we're going to start them in the background by appending the D flag. And once we do that, it's going to pull the latest containers, the latest images, and start the containers directly. So if you don't have those images already downloaded, it's going to take a minute to download and set up. But since I already have them downloaded, it just went right ahead and started both containers. And you can confirm that they are both up by using the ps command, and you can see that they are up. And since we've mounted port 1990 within the container to port 1990 and localhost, we can go back to the browser and just go to localhost 1990, and we should see the Prometheus user interface. One thing I forgot to mention is that we have a local Prometheus configuration here that's configured to script the Node Exporter service. So first of all, we have our script interval set to 10 seconds, and all this means is that every 10 seconds Prometheus is going to make a request to the configured script target. And here we only have one script target, which is the Node Exporter service, and we have the URL that Prometheus this is the base URL that Prometheus is going to script. It's going to append the /metrics path by itself. And essentially, because we have both the Prometheus service and the Node Exporter service on the same network, Prometheus is going to be able to access the Node Exporter service for scraping at this URL. Alright, so let's head back to the browser where we can now see, actually let's confirm that the Node Exporter service is being scraped, and yes, we can see that the status is up, and we can see the last script, which was 2.3 seconds ago. Now let's go back to the query, and we will be able to see entries prefixed with node, and all these entries are Node Exporter metrics. So there are several, I think there are hundreds of metrics here, or maybe not hundreds, but I don't know how many metrics there are, but there are quite a lot. Some of the most important ones are, for example, the memory total, which shows you how much memory the system has. And we also have node memory available. That's node memory mem available byte, and that shows you how much memory is currently available. And you can actually see a graph of the usage over time. So maybe you can reduce this maybe to the last 5 minutes, and you can see the memory usage. And you can see that it's reduced a little bit since we started collecting the metrics. Now, obviously, Prometheus graphing is very basic, so this is where Grafana is going to come in to help us actually plot these metrics and see them in a more comprehensive manner and a more customizable way as well. So let's bring in Grafana to our Docker Compose stack, and all you need to do is paste this in. And essentially what this does is it basically starts sets up a new service called Grafana, and it maps port 3000 in the container to port 3000 in the local host. And we set up the Grafana data volume, which is going to persist the data, and also we depend on Prometheus. So this service basically is going to depend on Prometheus before it starts, and we definitely need to make sure we enter the Grafana data here before we start the Grafana service. Alright, so now that we've set up the configuration for the Grafana service, you can go right ahead and start it in the background as well. So just specify the name of the service, and because we already have our Prometheus service running, it's going to start right up, and you can confirm that by running docker compose ps once again, and you see that it's up now, and the port 3000 is actually mapped to port 3000 on the local host. So let's go back to the browser and open a new tab at localhost 3000, and you're gonna see the Grafana interface. Now the default username and password for Grafana is admin, so you can just type admin and admin, and once you hit login, you're going to be prompted to enter a new password, but you can skip that for now if you don't want to do that. But obviously it's recommended that you do that for your production servers, so no one can get access to your Grafana instances. Alright, so let's go to connections and add the new connections, and we're going to have look for the Prometheus service here. Let's find that, and then once you select Prometheus, you can go to add new data source, and the main thing you need to configure here is the URL for the Prometheus server. And since we are running, since Grafana is also running on the same network as the Prometheus and Node Exporter service, you can just use the name of the container and the port that we configured earlier. So that will be HTTP Prometheus 1990, and that's all you need to configure. So let's now hit save and test, and that should confirm that we have Grafana is able to communicate with the Prometheus server. So once that is done, you can go to the dashboards section, and we're going to create a new dashboard. Now there are many options, well, 3 options here. We have the ability to create from scratch, or we can create a new folder. But what I'm going to demonstrate here is the ability to import a dashboard. So let's go to import, and we need to find a dashboard to import, and you can go to this page to do that. So let's see what we have here. Actually, I'm looking for the Node Exporter dashboard, so we can just search dashboard, but we don't need to, since we already have one here, which is the Node Exporter full, and that's the one we'll be using. So you can just click on it, and basically this dashboard is one of the most popular dashboards for Node Exporter instances, and it basically tries to visualize the majority of the metrics that are collected by default with the Node Exporter agent. Alright, so we can just copy this URL, and we're gonna go to the import dashboard once again and paste it here, and then click load. And once it loads, we need to select our data source. So we just select the Prometheus data source that we configured earlier, and then we click import. And now we can see the metrics visualized in a very nice way. So basically, it defaults to the last 24 hours, but since we've not been collecting metrics for that long, maybe we can just say last 15 minutes, and we're gonna see how the what the status of each of the components of a server, how they're behaving. So for example, here is like an overview section where you can see the CPU usage, system load, the RAM usage, swap usage, and so on and so forth, and you can see the uptime and a few other things. And we can see also the graphs of the CPU and memory, and the disk usage. Here we can see, I think we have about 40% used, and we can also see a breakdown when you hover on it. So there's a bunch of information here, and we can see more detailed information by clicking this collapse panels here, and you can just do that on your own basically. But there's a lot here, and it's customizable, so you can easily remove things that you don't need. But essentially, this is just a basic demonstration of how to set up Prometheus, Node Exporter, and Grafana for monitoring your Linux servers. Alright, so this brings us to the end of this tutorial. There's obviously a lot of things we skipped, like configuring or customizing the Node Exporter, for example, or creating a dashboard from scratch. And these are things I plan to cover in subsequent tutorials. So if you'd like to see more from me, please do subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And yeah, that'll be it for today, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Take care.